Hi everyone, it's Emily. In my last video, I talked to you guys about silence and how to live in silence. This time, I wanted to share some tips on how to pray without ceasing. Let's dive in.
I recorded it, hang on.
That's right.
The idea of praying without ceasing comes from 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 17, where Paul exhorts his readers to pray always. Now, in the convent, we took this very literally. We literally prayed constantly throughout the entire day. We started it off with a morning offering, daily consecration to Mary, meditation, holy hour, mass, morning prayer, daytime prayer, evening prayer, night prayer, litany of Loretto, multiple rosaries, and every day ended with a Salve Regina procession, which is my favorite part, after Mass. And there were also other ways that we managed to pray without ceasing. We incorporated prayer into our everyday actions, such as meals and recreation. St. Catherine of Siena, among many other saints, developed the idea of the interior cell. So what is a cell? For those of you who don't know, a cell is like a bedroom in a monastery or a convent. It's a place where a monk or a nun can go to be alone with God. The word cell comes from the Latin word for caeli, which means heaven. And the reason for that is because a cell is where you can go to be alone with God, and it's your little piece of heaven on earth. A cell is a place where our desire to be with God meets God's desire to be alone with us. So for those of you who don't know the story of St. Catherine of Siena, she was not able to join an actual convent, and so she had to create her own space to be alone with God. And so she developed the idea of the interior cell. The interior cell is a space inside of your heart where you can be with God. An interior cell doesn't have to be literally inside of a monastery or a convent. You can take your interior cell with you everywhere you go, and you can visit that interior cell at any time of the day. One book that I strongly recommend is called The Practice of the Presence of God by Brother Lawrence. This book is all about how to pray without ceasing. In his book, Brother Lawrence explains how we can lift our hearts to God in any situation, and that itself can be an act of prayer. You don't need to literally use words in order to pray. Prayer is a state of being with God and being aware of His presence. Brother Lawrence encourages us to make interior acts of adoration. One of the best things about living in the convent was being in the near presence of Jesus in the Eucharist. For those of us who can't live in the vicinity of the Eucharist constantly, we can keep a little adoration chapel in our interior cells where we can visit God and stay with Him throughout the day. What does it mean to lift up your heart to God? To lift up your heart to God means to be aware of His presence and to adore Him in any situation. I came up with some ideas of how you can practice prayer without ceasing. Number 1, pray more rosaries. If this is hard for you to remember, like it is for me, you can keep your rosary on your person at all times. I keep my rosary in my pocket. You can pray while you're waiting in line at the grocery store or in a waiting room, any location. And always sleep with your rosary. Fall asleep repeating the name of your Blessed Mother. Number 2, put more religious images in your life. This can be icons, literal statues, or put a prayer or a crucifix on your lock screen. Number 3, start wearing a miraculous medal or a scapular, like this. Number 4, lift your heart to God and make an interior act of adoration every hour of the day. This doesn't have to involve any words, but if it helps, you can say something such as, Jesus, I trust in you, or Jesus, in this moment, I'm aware that I'm in your presence and you are loving me. And number 5, offer up all of your daily actions to Jesus as you're doing them. So this could be washing the dishes, driving to work, or even mowing the lawn. It doesn't matter. Offer it up to God, and that action can become a prayer. So remember, prayer doesn't have to be complicated or take a really long time. Prayer is a way to live your life. When you practice the presence of God and pray without ceasing, your entire life can become one ongoing and uninterrupted prayer. I hope that this helps and that you'll be able to incorporate some of these practices into your own life. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I hope you'll join me for my next video and how the kingdom of God is open to everyone.
You know,
I'm gonna pretend.
I'm gonna. Emily, tell me what you just did to my pasta.
No.
Lystra, Iconium, and Antioch.
Join me next time. No, it's like, yeah. Don't put that in. Please end it. Cut right there.